Hi everyone, welcome to Code Zone K8. Today we are doing the Hello World practicals of Java using NetBeans. During my previous video, we talked about how I gave the links on where to install Apache NetBeans. I'm using Apache NetBeans 15 and also JDK8. There are links on the previous video. In case you have a problem installing, there are quite a number of videos that shows step by step on how to install both JDK and NetBeans. But also, as I'm uploading the video, I'll leave a link on a video that I found quite simple and easy to use for installation. So for the softwares, you can go back to the introduction video and get the links of the software that you need, both JDK and NetBeans. And once you install right, this is the first page to the NetBeans. So all your projects that you'll have to create will be listed at this point. So this is a point where the list of all the projects that you have will be listed. Then we have the menus of the Apache NetBeans. Is the file, the edit, the format, preview. You can actually check on and just see what all these menus represent on their sub menus. Then we have a page here where we list all the files of Java. Any file that will open for Java will be listed at this point. Then we have the output pane. Once we want to print to the monitor, this is where your output is going to be. So we're going to start our code by creating a project. So this is how we do the project. So this is file. Then you go to new project. The new project, there are several lists. You have Java with Maven, totally different thing. If you look at Java with Gradle, totally different thing. Now, I normally am using Java with Ant. You can actually check what is Java with Maven, what is Java with Gradle, but I'm using Java with Ant. So Java with Ant, then I pick Java application, then next. At the project name, I normally like to start my project with a capital letter, and it's really highly recommended a good code practice in Java. So I can have it as YouTube classes Java. You can have it as Java code. So you can have any project name as at this point. Remember to just start your project name with a capital letter. Then you have the project location. Where do you want this file to be located? If you click on browse, it will browse on your file. Where do you want to save this project? So I've chosen to save it at D. I have a folder called YouTube classes. Leave the rest as they are. Yes, ensure this is ticked. And then you have finish. So once that is done, you will officially have your first Java code. And this is your Java code. If you look at this YouTube class code, the file name is the same as the class name, exactly as it is. Remember, and I'll keep on repeating this, Java is case sensitive. YouTube classes is not the same as this. It's totally different. And if I do this, you realize it will give you an error. Reason being, the file name and the class name has to be the same. Okay, the package is just a folder holding similar classes. We'll see what is the purpose of a package. Realize this package that is here is the same package that is displayed at this point. Now, there are 8 major anatomy of Java code. There are 8 major anatomy of any Java code. And the first one is what we call comments. Now, comment is anything the compiler ignores. The minute the compiler comes across a comment, we call them even non-executable statement. The compiler ignores. And the comment comes into 2. We have the single line comment. We have the single line and we have the multi-line. Some books call them paragraph comments. They are still the same. Now, how do we write a multi-line comment? Starting with the 2 slashes that I've just written. So anything that I put inside here on this line becomes a comment. Once I move to the next line, it actually does not support the multi-line. It's just single line. If I want to do a multi-line comment, then I'll have to do slash and star, and close it with a star and a slash. Now, anything that I put inside here, it becomes a comment. But this time you're able to do a multi-line comment. Okay, so this comments is one of the major anatomy. Comments are used mainly if you want to just put a comment to understand. If I created this class and I say the class, this is a class to list, I don't know, listing the student, they just assist you in understanding a code much later. If you open a code right now, a year later you might not understand what you're doing, so you put a comment to explain what you're doing. They are just used for that, but comments are completely ignored by the compiler. The second anatomy of Java is what we call reserved words. Reserved words are normally highlighted in blue in any in NetBeans. Anything that you see in blue, these are reserved words, meaning they have specific meaning to the compiler. Once the compiler sees a class, anything that is in blue, it has a specific meaning to the compiler completely. And I repeat again, for reserved word, they normally appear in blue. Then the third one is what we call a modifier. A modifier completely specifies the properties of data, method, and class. What do we mean by specify? If you see a final word in a final word, there is a meaning. It modifies, which means the whatever is defined here cannot be changed. When you see a static, when you see public, what does it mean? Private. We'll work on this. We'll work with modifiers and explain much detail in details once we get into classes and methods. But again, modifiers, they specify the properties of data, method, and class. Then we have the other one. This is the 1, 2, 3. Then we have the fourth one, which is statements. Now, statements is what the compiler compiles. I'll give an example of a statement. Now, I want to output hello world on my screen. What is the statement to use? We have system.out.print, and I put it in quotes. The syntax here, it has to be in bracket and quotes, and I say hello world. Any statement must end with a semicolon. Any statement, I repeat, must end with a semicolon. This is to simply mean output whatever is in quote on the screen. For example, to run the Java code, I'll highlight on the YouTube class, right click and simply say run file. If I run file, you realize it automatically outputs the hello world, whatever I have put inside here. So statements are what the compiler used to compile. They are executable and they normally end with a semicolon. We are going to see as many statements as possible during our coding session. Then we have blocks. Blocks are simply, they are group of components of a program. If you look, normally, if you want to identify a block, if you highlight on this opening bracket, it gives you a green highlight on the other one. Now, this is what we call a class block. If I highlight on this and then it appears here, then this is what we call a function block. It just gives you a group of components of a program. So once you see a grouping, that is what we call a block. Then we have classes. This is just the main thing of Java, but you're going to talk about deeper. If you even look at your first program has started with a class name. The class name is YouTube. So classes are actually the essentials of any Java program. Then we have methods, and you'll find methods can also be called functions. Now functions, they do specific tasks. For example, this is a function. It has a specific task. We're going to really go into details when it comes to function, but just understand method. This is an example of a method. The work of a method is to just execute specific tasks. Then finally, we have something we call main with a small m. I want to tell you this is where Java starts to execute its program. If I remove this main and I right click and I try to run this program, automatically it cannot run. Why? Because the compiler cannot find the main. Main is where every Java program starts to execute. So now we have our 8 anatomies. We are going to use them as much as we can during our course. Now the system.out.print simply prints your output at the screen. So we can have as many as possible. Hello, and I can say hello, Nancy. And there's a difference between print and print ln. Print, if we do just print without ln, they appear, all the output come at the same line. You find hello and Nancy, they are all at the same line. So if I want them to move to different lines, then I add print ln. Simply right click again and run, and you realize now hello world and Nancy are in different line. You can output as many things as possible. You can actually now do my shopping list. Anything that you write here also is completely ignored by the compiler. Simply what you're telling the compiler, output anything that I'm putting inside this code on the monitor. So my shopping list here is, I have 2 kg sugar. I can have 3 kg maize flour. I can have what? We can have 3 kg wheat flour. If again right click on the class, highlight the class, right click and run the file, again you realize it gives you the shopping list. So you can play around with these ones. Now I want to touch on something. There is something we call libraries. Now normally the libraries is what enables us to do specific tasks. There is only one implicitly imported library that we call java.lang. Java.lang, you don't have to, when you're using system.out. You don't have to do something like import java. You don't have to do such a thing. Reason being, it is implicitly imported to any Java class. But now say I want to use a swing component that we are calling JOptionPane. JOptionPane dot show message dialog. Just ignore whatever is happening on my screen. The parent here, just say null. The message, what do I want? I want to put the shopping list here. I want to have shopping list. Let's see. Now for you to use JOptionPane is not in the library of java.lang. It is in java.swing. What happens? You have to import the library for you to use JOptionPane. And how do you do that? The library, the import statement has to come after the package name and before class. If you put it outside the package, gives you an error. Okay, if you put it inside the class again, gives you an error. It always comes in between the class and the package. You've imported JOptionPane in this class, so anywhere you use JOptionPane, you don't have to keep on saying import or anything. It removes the red errors. Okay, so again, this is my import javax.swing JOptionPane. So what does this what does this do? If I run this one, now this is my JOptionPane. I don't know whether you can see it. The message they're shopping, it brings a pop-up. It's very different from the one that shows on the screen. It shows a pop-up. Now say I just want it to display the shopping list 2 kg sugar. So I'll type it, shopping list, and I have my 2 kg sugar here. I copy this and paste it. I have the maize flour. And finally I have the wheat flour. Now, if I run this, becomes a very long J option page message, right? Now, what if I want to give it as a list, as a print ln? There's nothing like J option.ln. What you do at the shopping list, you have now the backslash and do n. Again, you realize this one bolds, it's not like the rest, okay? So again, it is the backslash and n where I want it to start with to the next line. So again, at the 3 kg flour, I have backslash and n. Now, when I run this one, this is what happens. You realize it comes the 2 kg where I have slash n, it takes the rest, whatever comes next to the next line. Again, where I have, let me run it again, sorry. If I right click and run it again, you realize it gives you 2 kg sugar, 3 kg maize flour. Where I have the backslash n, it is where now whatever comes next goes to the next line. Whatever comes next goes to the next line. Whatever comes next goes to the next line. So play around with this. You can have your shopping list. You can even include the prices. You can even do a full receipt using the system.out.println and also do with JOptionPane. At the comment section, once you run, please you can post and let us see the code that you have done. So thank you once again. See you on the next session.